This is the Round Table, a talk show brought to you by the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. In this circle, the priestesses of the Ceremonial Circle, the weavers of our annual gathering, talk about pivotal topics about our community, spirituality, and goddess. Welcome back to the Round Table, the Goddess Conference, Earth Goddess of Creation. This year, once again, we are back with a panel of fantastic weavers that will be pivotal part of the Goddess Conference as ceremonialists and directional priestesses. So please welcome today's panel, which is Marion Brigantia.
Hey.
Roberta Tromboni.
Hello, everyone.
Demelza Fox.
Hi.
Katinka Sutens.
Hello, dear ones.
And Nikki Swan.
Hello.
Today we're here to get into one of the most beloved topics for everyone who comes to Goddess Conference every year, which is community. Belonging is medicine. The Earth Goddess of Creation speaks through kinship, interconnection, and the deep reality that we belong to life itself. So today we'll be talking a bit about spiritual belonging and the ways in which we can weave together instead of being separate. When we look at Goddess Conference, we all feel a sense of belonging that doesn't really feel like a responsibility necessarily, or just an obligation in a way. So let's start from Marion. When you approached the Goddess Conference many years ago, you had, of course, a different role than the one you have today. How did that evolve, and how did you move through this community, and what is the Goddess Conference as a community like to you now today?
Yes, when you did the introduction, I was actually, you were transporting me completely back. So you must be a mind reader, completely back to when I first stepped into the Goddess Conference, which is 23 years ago. So it's a long time ago, but I remember it like yesterday, because I think, and the immediately linking in with the topic of belonging, what happened almost immediately when I came into the big temple, which is the temple of the goddess that is celebrated that year, there was the thing like, oh, I know this. I know there is a almost immediately for me was a recognizing of an energy and of the way people were. I didn't know anybody, but I could see how people were interacting with each other, and it was so different than in the outside world. And having done the whole week, going through the whole week where you are held by a directional circle and you can actually really deeply share, and you don't have to hide any emotions. You can just be who you are. It really felt like a homecoming. And I know that sounds a bit cliche, or even a bit cheesy, but it was really that feeling. It was really a feeling of coming home to, my own people. I think a lot of people have this this feeling where in daily life maybe they don't really fit in. And I'm not saying that the Goddess Conference will be the fit for everybody, but it was for me. And as a result of that, I really wanted to be part of it, not just come. Which was lovely. I mean, it was a warm bath of remembering this, that I didn't even know I had this memory. But I wanted to give. I want to be part of it. And then when I started to become part of it, the first thing I was to become a directional priestess. I applied for being a Melissa, but I was already a priestess, so they kind of brought me to being a directional priestess. And it is just the way in these circles, both in the directional priestesses circle, and then now also in the ceremonial circle, and then in the organizational circle, we are really working the circles. But it just, you have a voice, you are seen, you are heard, you are part of something. I literally came home, and it really brought my sense of belonging, that I definitely belong to my family. That's it's clear. But it was in the interaction with people who are your peers. I've never had that in my life before, and that's kind of equality and realness, and just friendship, support, love, and it is a 1-year event, but actually, you have a feeling that you are part of this the whole year. You're working towards it. It's part of my life, really. If you ask how it developed, it's actually taken over my life, but that's another story.
So true.
I think with conference, because I've been a directional priestess for a whole bunch of years, and so the directional priestesses are the ones that kind of look after everybody, and you have your little directional circle where everybody can come and share how they've been doing and make friends and find people to wander around conference with, because lots of people come on their own, because it's not super common that all the people in your regular life are into this stuff. So lots of people come on their own and they find people and hang out, and it's ever so sweet. But goodness, what on earth was I talking about? Oh yeah, so with conference, all the people in my circles over the last few years, they always mention that it just feels so different to regular life, because and I think what it is you're in this place that is centered around a temple and is centered around the energy of the goddess. And when you're in that almost ceremonial, ritual, spiritual place, you are looking at everyone through the eyes of love. So it's one of the few places in life where you can talk to someone and they are choosing to look at you through the eyes of love. And everyone's freaking doing that at a conference. And it's really unusual and it's really special. And when you're looked at and seen through the eyes of love, you get to be your, I want to say best self, but I don't mean best self as in, oh, I'm morally upright and I'm very productive. I mean best self as in, oh, here is my joy. Here are all my big feelings. Here is the most me-ishness of me. And because there is that field of love and this kind of weird time out of time thing that happens at conference, everybody feels that love, that everyone in the circle will help them. Like in my circles, if someone's having a tough time, another person will be like, oh, it's okay, I'll go with you to this thing, or they'll check up on each other to make sure they're okay. And everyone's just able to they're able to live and be a part of the community that they wish they had in their everyday life. And the magic of community, and in my work, we talk about this as like sisterhood energy, whether you're a lady or a man or anything in between. It is both this feeling of seeing each other through love and having love as the field through which you're connecting with each other, and this reciprocal giving and receiving. And when you're in that field, you don't want to just take, you want to give, you want to love, you want to go and talk to the lady who you know has come here on her own, or you want to sit there and hold the hands of someone who's having like an emotional experience. And it's just so many of the people who I've looked after at conference, they're just absolutely in love with the fact that they get to live in this community and this energy, which is so rare. Even if it's just for a week, they get to be somewhere where everyone's happy to see them. They're always welcome. They're always being invited in. Even if they fall over and cry for like 40 minutes, someone will look after them. It's okay. It's a very strange magical event and a very strange magical field that it creates. Maybe it's because it has the goddess temple at the center.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think that sense of belonging really comes from that goddess at the center. And that's certainly how it was for me. I was listening to you, Marion, sharing what has brought us to the Goddess Conference all those years ago. And it is a strange thing to look back over such a long, relatively long stretch of life, really, and seeing the strands of connection. And because I think that's part of the belonging, is this web of connection that you develop through coming to the Goddess Conference as this event that is, like Demi says, sort of outside of time, but also in a bubble right in the middle of your life. It's like a portal into the reality that we all would actually like to live all the time, and we get to do it for 1 week. It's very magical, you know. It's also very magnetic because of that. Not in a cultish kind of weird way, but in that soul calling of refining a life that's really centered around Goddess, around forms of the divine feminine, with other people who also know that. Not where you have to start explaining it to everybody who might not even have ever heard the word Goddess, other than perhaps in a mythological Hellenistic Greek sense, you know, of the word. But people who have a real relationship to Goddess, or are very curious about finding that and finding other people who can way show or who can inspire. And I mean, I first came to the Goddess Conference. I was a pagan when it was not that popular to be a pagan. I was not so interested in pagan groups because there was quite a strange vibe. Whether it was real or not, I don't know, but that was my interpretation of it at the time. So I called myself a witch since I was in my teens, really, and it was more like what we would now call solitary or hedgerow witch or something like that, you know. But I was actually really resistant to the sort of group thing of belonging, because I had this idea, rightly or wrongly, of a sort of brainwashing, sort of group hysteria kind of vibe. So it wasn't until I actually came to the Goddess Conference, which was my first one, was 1999, you know, and experienced the power of group ceremony particularly. I met some really nice people. I mean, I met Julie Felix. I didn't actually know who Julie Felix was. We were just having a chat, you know, and she was just lovely. And then later on I found out, oh, she's this kind of famous person, you know. And then we were basically, from then on, we were just like friendly people who love the Goddess. Oh, you're also, it was like that, you know. This is of course now a longer time ago, but so I'm forever grateful to the Goddess Conference, really, for giving me this extraordinary opportunity to create Goddess community in my life that literally is all over the world, with connections, strands all over the world. And as many of us as possibly can get the opportunity to come and belong to the Goddess Conference this year in the real physical place here on Avalon and the land of Glastonbury, that many people have a special connection to anyway. But where that really is that come and belong, come and be. And we are very inclusive as an organization and as an event. We have healthy boundaries that are behavioral based, but really we are very welcoming in the way it was really from when I first experienced it anyway, that it was a welcoming space for people who want to place Goddess in the center of their lives and beings.
I love how all you three went into this act of love that is belonging and its community. And the Earth Goddess of Creation is really centered on creation. And creation might feel like it is an act, you know, the epic act of creation, while very much like healing is an ongoing process of creation, constantly creating, and as we are constantly healing. And in a way, I think that what might happen is that during Goddess Conference, we remember something via biomimicry. It's like we reconnect to the mycelia. We remember how connection, when it's not, intervened by prejudice or traumas or difficult relationships, really happens. We remember how we can easily connect. And that feeling of feeling connected and rooted in a wider context allows us to simultaneously heal and create. So I think there is an interesting bond, and that's why we say, that belonging is the medicine that allows us creation. So have you ever experienced, like Roberta and Nikki, have you ever experienced in your experiences of the conference that this healing, sometimes, you know, even really deep places of yourself and hurtful places of yourself maybe really enabled you through the belonging to create life anew, experiences anew, things anew?
Absolutely. And in my first Goddess conference, I was a trainee, and it was a mother conference, and I was pregnant at the time. So I was given this glorious position of kind of waltzing up and going on the stage in this beautiful temple, and everyone looking at me, and I was pregnant. I was so proud to be pregnant. I was proud of my belly. And I kind of did that as a earth-based woman. And I stood on the stage, and my earth-based woman just absolutely dissipated. And I really recognized within myself, oh no, this isn't about my belly full. This is about the room full. This is about the connection of all the people. And it just felt so, so deep and profound for me. And I just felt that switch, that change within me. And then I've carried that ever since. That moment of change, I carry it ever since. And every year that we're in conference, one of the most glorious moments for me, no matter what my role is within the conference, that I really love, is there's always a thing where people are drifting around the room in ceremony, and you catch somebody else's eye, and beautifully you might know them, and wonderfully you might not. But what you do is you have this co-witnessing of each other, of whatever the theme is. And it's just this open-hearted aspect of, I'm going to show you myself. And the other person goes, yeah, I see you. I see you. And it's so profound. And then maybe you move around the room, and it happens again with another person. And it happens again with the next person. And so all of this interconnection of everything, for me, is so deep. It's so beautiful. And each conference, I just take it away. I lap it up and I take it home.
Yeah, beautiful. And yeah, definitely. I would say by the third, fourth day of the conference, I just go around and I say, I love you to everybody.
She does.
And you really feel that big love, and just like, and everybody, anyone you see and you meet, is just like, it's like if it's the oldest friend you ever had, and you can have wonderful conversation, and just your heart is full, and you are in a very deep transformation, really. I even, as a participant and then as a directional, I'm always so incredibly surprised of how deep is the transformation, but is not heavy and like fat, like resist, like it's just something that happens. It's just like a flower that opens, and you look inside yourself, and you allow really to be seen, and to experience this big opening of the heart that, up to me, all the time it happens. And you really re-meet in the first day, when you meet again the people that you've seen a year ago, and it looks like yesterday, and you're just like, everybody's like, how you doing? And you start the conversation like if you left it yesterday. And and yes, we all have our own community, our own little communities, maybe here, but it is really something different. It's an experience, maybe because of Goddess in the center, but also of all the really deep ceremonies, and how the ceremonialists are really waving in, and the wavers are really, building this beautiful creation, and it's really every year is a really journey, transforming journey, but you're really not alone. And that's why I think the connection that you have in a conference with the other people are so deep, because you are going through this deep transformation in those few days, and you go back, and you're like, I used to think I'm never gonna change. Well, through conference I've changed. So I really changed, and I came back home and I was like, wow, no, I'm not the same, but in a good way, you know, in a really shiny. And also one last thing, I hate take picture of myself. Like I always think that I don't come out well a picture when they ask me, do you have a picture? I say, no. I look at the pictures at conference, and my pictures at conference, and my eyes shine in a different way, and I see, wow, I'm so beautiful. Maybe because I'm full of this joy and everything, but that's the place where to have really great pictures.
Yeah. You are so beautiful, darling. And I think it's very interesting because when we're talking about the loneliness or the sense of separation, really, which is for me the root cause of many of the troubles in the world and a lot of suffering in individual people's lives, this is a place where the balm of belonging can really be so softening of the sadness or the shieldings that we hold around those feelings of isolation or loneliness or separation. And both with people, this is why it's such a love fest, really, but also with our own sense of belonging in a spiritual sense to the forms of the divine that we worship as goddess, to the land as sacred, to a community that in one way or the other at least is in connection to each other in those core kind of places that perhaps are not so obvious in the rest of your life. It's harder to find. There are more places now, which is really, really great, you know, from a pagan's perspective, many more places now than 30 years ago. But it is still this thing of, like you say, when you go home, it can actually feel quite lonely after the conference because the people around you have not had those amazing experiences. You have to kind of go back to normal, whatever that is, or let the experience of the conference inform your normal. And so I think this is the belonging, these seeds of belonging that can really start to change both you individually and how you then manifest that sense of belonging in your life. I mean, Nikki, you set up or co-created a whole goddess temple coming from that, you know, creating places where people can also find those sensations of non-separation with goddess, and perhaps also maybe for yourself.
Yeah, and it's wonderful, you know, it's between Bath and Bristol, and so we started small and it's just grown and flourished, and what's happened is people take it, you know, that's what happens with communities. It feels safe, isn't it? They take it, they evolve it, they let it grow, it becomes changed and different in ways that are just so beyond who we are as individuals. And that's part of the wonder of whichever of these communities they are, isn't it? It's how it evolves, how it spreads out, it's how interconnected it is, both with us as people, but also, you know, we're upon the body of the goddess, upon the earth, within the trees, out in the woods, all of those beautiful interconnected things. It's so nourishing.
I think this is part of her creation as well. I think she inspires us to create more places in the world. I think this the Goddess Conference can be a very good catalyst for, you know, creating other places in the world. Like I mean, so many temples have come out of the Goddess Conference, people, and trainings, you know, goddess-based trainings. And I think it's been said a few times, but for us, it was also very important to have a goddess in the center. And I think if that is your real true devotion, your real true way of being, that you have goddess in the center, not just of yourself, but also into anything you create, you know, that's like whether it's a temple or a training or just a circle of friends. And in the trainings as well, if I sometimes was part of the training the Bridget training, I invite people to do just small things with friends and have goddess in the center. And always is the same reaction, is that those creations bring that sense of belonging. So I think that the sense of belonging is very linked with also what we create as the Goddess Conference, but I think mostly because goddess is in the center. And that is also that field of love where you were talking about, Imelda. But I think if you have Goddess at the center, for me, that is love. You know, she is love. And so many different expressions of love. But always, that is for me always love. And it can be tough love as well, actually. But yeah, so I think that sense of belonging comes from that, having her in the center, having that. I think it's a deep understanding in everybody that she is there, she's non-judgmental, she is love, and you can feel safe around her, you know, or safe with your friends and or your sisters or your brothers, you know, to have that experience of community together.
I think the concept of that being healing, you know, that the belonging is healing and is the medicine, stems also from the fact that we remember, God's Conference, that belonging is not a price we give to ourselves when we are perfect or are, you know, reflects, you know, standards and we respond to expectations, but it's a room we inhabit, it's a muscle we can learn to use again, and it's a gift that is given to us the moment we enter conference, because that's the look, you know, between people in a circle that Roberta and was talking about. It's the spaces that Nikki was talking about, and that's really what happens. It's that love field that Imelda was really talking about. I think we just remember we kind of stop being just human beings, but become more like fungi or the mycelia, and we remember how easy that is. It is a muscle. It is a capability we have. It's not a price that we get at some point when we are the perfect priestess or spiritual person. And I wanted to mention something very important about God's Conference that has everything to do with Katinka's encounter with famous songstress Julie Felix, and it was really part of the community. Is that, like, on the first day this year as well, there will be a chance to meet priestesses from all over the world, healers, any kind of people who is connected, presenters, any kind of person who's connected to the Goddess Conference, and everybody will be in the same room, shaking hands, giving hugs, and talking about life experiences. And that is so breathtakingly simple. I think, when was the first year, Katinka, that happened, and how did it came to be as part of the conference?
Do you mean the registration, during the registration on the first?
Yeah, but also the I think we call it like the not the market, but it's like the temple.
This year there are two new things actually that we're trying out. So thank you for bringing that. That the first day of the conference we are calling the Temple Day, and that is going to be very much an open day where people can come in and meet priestesses, presenters, artists, performers. Like you say, there's a program that runs where there's lovely things, temple things happening all day long, and then in the evening is a ticketed performance evening in the temple space as well. There's always been these little slots, but they're usually feeling quite squeezed, particularly when you're working the conference, because it takes a lot from many of us, not just the ceremonial priestesses or the directional priestesses, but all our teams, all our circles are working to serve Goddess and the Goddess Conference actually very hard. So there are these moments where we get to meet and do this kind of social moments, and some of the feedback that we have got from participants and people who work the conference is that they would like a little bit more of that. So there's always been these couple of hours at the very beginning of the first day of the conference that are the registration hours where that happens. And so we're stretching that actually to make that most of the first day, but with some structure in it and some beautiful offerings. And that day is also actually open to the wider community, the Glastonbury community, or people who are in town, to come in and see and feel. There's a lot of misconceptions out in the world about what Goddess is, and also in the community in general, what we are actually about as a Goddess Conference event. And so this is very much an invitation really to actually come and see, feel, experience that sense of belonging, and then buy your ticket and come and do the whole thing, because of course we need to survive by people having actually bought a ticket. Otherwise the conference will stop. So please do buy a ticket. And this first Temple Day is included in your full ticket price. So yes, it is a wonderful thing. It is a really wonderful thing. There are other moments, for example, during the fruit feast and the procession, there's the gala on the goddess gala on the Saturday evening. There are all sorts of moments in which and in the breaks, that you always are bumping into someone who you're having a quick snatch a conversation with. But yes, I think it's very important that as a growing community, and that has been very much part of the conference's focus to grow community in healthy circle ways, to have those opportunities actually, and to meet as people, not in some sort of hierarchical structure, which, that's people project that the moment you hold a workshop, you are in some sort of hierarchy projection because you're the one holding the workshop, no matter how you set that up. So to just be all together in the temple of the goddess and share what we bring and how we manifest and how we walk with her and be inspired by each other and then eventually also supported by each other, and some wonderful friendships. And that mycelia, that is actually a joy, and it is actually our natural muscle of connection, because separation is actually a wounding and is an unnatural state of being. So I love that you brought that in, because that is actually what we're getting to do, particularly in those moments that you asked me to speak into, which I hope I've done sufficiently there.
Yeah, absolutely. But also remember when it came up, I think some years ago, there came in the idea of having a moment like an open market where the community of Glastonbury would be invited in. And I remember how Mariana and Katinka came in strongly. They were like, we need a day where people can come in and they can see the people, where we can, and it was such a strong and simple and yet very, very effective idea. And also I think there was this musical moment with Lilavati, and everybody was sitting on the ground singing and crying and hugging, and that's what conference does best. And it was really a highlight, and it's to see that grow and thrive. It's like a synonym of this mycelia effect of us as a community evolving based on what nurtures us and what makes us better and what heals us. So belonging in that sense heals us.
Yes, that was very much part of that. Training market will be part of the Temple Day again, so there's a repeat of that, and it was very much our very conscious intention to set up a field of love to be the antidote or the medicine for the disease of competition. That was what we were trying to do, and I think it worked, and so we are repeating that.
Yeah. And to mention again the wonderful website where you can buy the tickets Katinka was referring to, you can go to goddessconference.com, but there is a very beautiful passage which is part of our Goddess Conference community has grown up in and with the conference, and certainly we have all grown with her, through her. We aim to work in circles, many of which overlap, to create an underlying form that supports us all to have this amazing gathering and hold Goddess as our center at all times. This is a beautiful, beautiful structure that is very much real. I mean, Roberta is here, Nick is here, Demelta is here, Marion, Katinka. We all have different aspects and roles and things we bring in, but at the same time we can gather around the table. So please do join us in person in Glastonbury from the 28th of July, it's a Tuesday, to the 2nd of August, which is a Sunday, with a huge celebration at the end. Come over to Glastonbury and join us and buy a ticket. That's the point. So I would love to thank all these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful priestesses here today. Thank you to Roberta for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katinka.
Blessings.
And thank you, Demelta.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Andrea.
We'll see you in person in Glastonbury. So make sure to visit the website, check the colors for your clothing. You'll belong anyway. You can wear
Yeah.
you want, but you can belong in fashion. So visit the website, make sure you learn all or everything about the conference. And if you want to ask more, please send us an email, send us a message. We will be there in no time. Thank you so much for being here, and see you at the next roundtable.